Okay, so a quick update on the IX API. I'm happy I've been shifted to second position this morning because after this the only way is up. So IX API in a nutshell is for the people who don't know this yet, is a joint effort by AMS-IX, DE-CIX and LINX to create something of an industry standard to provision, configure and manage your interconnection services. We started this in 2018, so it's already 5 years ago. And we introduced it in 2019 during the EPF 14 in Estonia. It actually consists of two things. So on the one hand, there's the standards group, which is AMS-IX, DE-CIX, LINX, and we work with interaction as well. It's an important stakeholder in the API. And the second part of it is, of course, the implementation, because each exchange or each API provider that wants to offer this API will have to do this, will have to make their own implementation. So first, a little update on the standards. Not very exciting things. We did make website improvements because the documentation that we provide is well, we got some feedback that it's not always that good. So we made some efforts to improve the website. We now have mailing lists as well. There is a public Slack channel for support for people who want to implement it. We're still not very good at answering questions in, I would say, a reasonable time frame. That's still lacking a bit. We have started work on a getting started guide because we publish the standard as an open API document. But what is the workflow for an order? How do you make your queries? That is not always that clear. So we started with a document that kind of explains step by step how the data model works and what your workflow would be for common operations on the API. The other thing that we are currently developing in the standard is layer 3 properties, so that's routing functions, which in the beginning I would never think that we would need that on an IX level, because that's layer 2, why would you need routing functions? Well, it turns out that for cloud connectivity and cloud router connectivity, you definitely need layer 3 properties and routing functions. So that's still ongoing. We're getting there. And another thing is that we as AMS-IX make a slightly different way of creating private interconnects than was originally envisioned in the standard. So we're now working on a proposal for service key functionality for provisioning connections to private interconnects and closed user groups. So we're now at, I hope nobody corrects me on this, but it's version 2.4.2 that we're at now. There's no major changes since 2.4 was introduced. We did add statistics endpoints in 2.4.0. There have been some fixes and clarifications in the API documentation. As I said, we've cleaned up some things that were either not used at all or just badly defined. And we expect a new version somewhere around the end of Q3. And that would be 2.5, if I'm not mistaken. The next thing is, what is the implementation status? So I can only speak for what we do at AMS-IX. There is still an IX API v1 that is live, that is based on our AMS-IX API stack as deprecated, and the v2 implementation we've been working really hard for the past months to actually integrate that with Salesforce, because as you know we have this migration from the legacy CRM system to Salesforce. So now we have 3 systems to deal with. There's IX API, there's Salesforce, and there's our OSS stack. And getting the interactions correct there turned out to be a bit of a challenge because Salesforce's API is not as user-friendly as you might expect it to be. So we do expect this to go live soon, and soon is somewhere in the summer months. And then we hope to have some testing done and actually make this work. So the future for the implementation for us is we do want to add the P2P VC service, so that's what we also call private interconnect. So you could order private interconnect services over the API, which is, I think, going to be very interesting, especially for partners and resellers. And the next thing where we think that end customers actually have some benefit would be to have statistics endpoints, and that is not going to be very difficult. Famous last word. And we expect all of this to kind of happen in Q3, Q4. More information, there's always the IX API website, which now contains links to the mailing list and to the Slack server. So that's always good. You can always ask questions to me or to the public Slack channel, and we'll try to answer as quickly as possible. And that's about it. Any questions? I rushed through my presentation in less than 10 minutes. Yeah. All right.